Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Deal, where we discuss business, entrepreneurship, and commercial real estate. My name is Lacey Labs, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Martin. In today's episode, we interview Brandi Sikes, Managing Director of SVN J in Houston, Texas. Brandi has worked in commercial real estate for over 27 years. With extensive experience in HQ and a passion for startups, Brandi leverages proven practices and transaction acumen to empower her clients through complex commercial real estate decisions. She is also passionate about startups and helping businesses succeed. Tune into this episode to hear more about Brandi's journey, the commercial real estate experiences that she shares, and what advice she would give to younger CRE agents looking to provide value in the commercial real estate market. Brandi Sikes, welcome to Beyond the Deal. It's great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you, Lacey. It's fun to be on the Lacey and Laura show.
Good morning. We can rename it. That's what it's turned into.
Yeah. So let's get started with just hearing a little bit about how you started in commercial real estate and what kind of has drawn you into the work and given you passion for it over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I did not get an education of any sort in commercial real estate or real estate in that matter. It was basic business, marketing, et cetera. And I had heard someone say that if you can start your career with a company at their headquarters location, it's a good idea because there's a lot of talent that aggregates around the headquarters. So I knew that I was going to be moving to Dallas, Texas, and I found the Dallas Business Journal list of the top companies across different categories. And I decided to reach out to the companies that were in the top 10 of each of those categories that were also headquartered in Dallas. And it just so happened that Trammell Crow Company was in one of those categories. Ironically, it was for largest commercial property management company, which is absolutely not what I do. So it's funny to me knowing more about management and knowing my personality and it was really, I would say it was serendipitous that I had the opportunity to even learn about Trammell Crow, send in my resume, cross my fingers, click my heels. And I actually got a phone call from their head of HR. And she said, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you. We're hiring." And I was in professional hiree mode. So I asked, what was the job scope, description, pay, all of those things. And she seemed a little bit unprepared to answer. But what I did not know is that the commercial real estate industry at the time had gone through a recession. And no one had hired in many years. And they were kind of new to the hiring process again. So she said, "I'm not really sure. We've just got a couple of brokers that have a lot of business, and they were asking me if I could help them find, a junior leasing agent to help them out." And I said, "Well, sure, I'd love to learn more." And so she had one of those leasing agents reach out to me, who ended up being a household name in our industry and started additional companies since. So he calls me and he asks if I want to come in and interview. I asked him a little bit more about the job, and he again didn't have much clarity around it, which I thought was funny. He just said, "I don't know. I just know we're really busy and you look smart on your resume. So we'd like to meet you." And so I said, "All right, well, I would like to meet you as well." And he said, "Okay, well, come see us. When are you available?" I said, "Well, where are you located?" He said, "Downtown." I said, "I can be there in 30 minutes. And he went silent. And I said, "Did I lose you? Are you still there?" And he said, "No, you are welcome to meet us in 30 minutes. And so I did. And when the elevator opened on the 37th floor of the Trammell Crow Company headquarters building in downtown Dallas, there were two men standing outside just kind of looking at me. And I thought, this feels awkward. And so when we sat down and started the interview process, and I went through 3 days of interviews, and at the very end, they made me an offer. They said, "Do you want to know why we hired you?" I said, "Of course I do. What was it? What was it on my resume that drew your interest?" And they said, "We have never met a woman who could get dressed and be somewhere in 30 minutes. And I thought, all that hard work in college, all that extracurricular, are you kidding me? So they were being a little bit facetious, but that was the beginning of the career. So I just think that's sort of a hilarious story because it's unexpected.
So you kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
I fell into it, absolutely.
Yeah, I did too. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. So was that back in the late
That was in 95.
95? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very few women in the company at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited about the opportunity, just came in ready to learn as much as I could.
That's great.
Yeah. And I knew it was unique that I had that opportunity because when I would meet people in the industry, they would say, oh, well, your father must be in real estate. What does he do?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, he's actually a mechanical engineer. So I knew it was unique that I had the opportunity.
That's great. So are you from Texas? Is that born and raised? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And you're Houston now? You're Dallas then? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's a big state. Yeah.
So as you started that job, which I love that story, by the way, amazing. Thanks for sharing it. As you started the work, I mean, you've now been in this for a while. So what kind of was okay, I'm in this for the long haul. What were some of the things that drew you into it and kind of sparked that interest and passion outside of just, oh, this is a good starter job out of college?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I started representing some office buildings that were, let's say, less than desirable. So they had this young, naive, ambitious college graduate and these terrible buildings in a terrible submarket in Dallas, Texas. And they said, let's see what she can do. So what I noticed through that process as I would tour prospective tenants through a very unattractive space, I would say things like, okay, well, imagine this shag carpet is gone, and imagine these walls are painted, and imagine your office is here. And about that time, they would walk out, and I thought, what is happening? People can't visualize this. So I learned something in that moment that you really had to tell a story and create a vision and invite people into it and meet them where they are and invite them in. And so I started really learning about that process. And then the art of helping a property owner who just wanted to raise rent and occupancy without spending money also see the same need. And so I quickly began to put together pieces of a puzzle and draw people together towards the same vision and had a little bit of success in doing that. And that felt good. And I thought I can see something that people can't see and they need help seeing this. So that pulled my interest in. And then helping people make a decision on a new office space gave me an opportunity to learn about their business. And I would ask questions like, why did you start this company? What is your vision for this company? And that was just intriguing to me. So if you could really understand why their company exists and what their culture was at that time, before culture was a big conversation topic, and marry it to their environment, you could do something that had an impact on many people. And so that became interesting to me. I think the turning point that really hooked me on the business, and I'll pause and say it was a difficult uphill learning experience that many people exit too early. But if you stay in it, it can be worth it. Also, it's not for everyone. So if you discern it doesn't really match up with your gifts, then I do encourage an early exit to go find something that's better aligned. But I knew I had the tenacity. I knew I had the curiosity and the passion to understand the decision makers well enough to keep on pressing through all the hard learning that took place without training. And I think that the turning point in my early days came when my senior leasing agents who I was reporting to, they came to me and they asked, how is your cold calling going? And I said, I'm sorry, my what? They said, you're cold calling. I said, okay, tell me more about that. So this is evidence of a lack of training, just a silent expectation. I was barely 21. And I said, well, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll go for it. So they said, we want you to call all these companies in these other buildings and bring them to your building. And my first thought, which I did not say, is those buildings around my ugly building are also ugly. Why would they take the time, energy, and money to relocate from one ugly building to another? And I thought, what am I going to do to overcome that mindset? What is the selling point? What is the opportunity? And once I could create my own value proposition and I began to knock on those doors, I loved the challenge. I didn't love the no's, but I loved the challenge. And then I had an idea that I could team up with some other people in the industry to get some market data, which I did. And I found an interesting piece of market data that turned into a cold call for a building owner in a submarket called Las Colinas that was just barely on the rise at the time. And he was the decision maker for a healthcare company in Chicago. And at the end of my intro, he said, how did you get my number? Why are you asking me these questions? And he was very adversarial. And at the end of the conversation, I thought, well, that did not go well. 3 weeks later, he calls me and he said, I want to apologize. I was pretty abrupt with you. I still don't know how you got my information. We were going through an acquisition at the time. It was very confidential. I don't know how you found out about it, but yes, I'm interested in selling my building now. Is Trammell Crow interested in buying it? At which point I went and told my boss, and he was stunned. He said, how did you find a building in Las Colinas that's available for sale that no one knows about? And I said, well, honestly, before that cold call, I prayed. And after that cold call, I told God, hey, thanks a lot. I asked you to be with me, and that was terrible. And it might be working out now. So we walked over to Trammell Crow, the man's office, presented the opportunity to the Crow Holdings family members. And they said, we'd like to make an offer. And literally, my boss and I flew to Chicago the next day with a contract and got it signed. And the rest is history.
Wow. That's a great one.
That is. That's amazing.
Yeah. Cold calling and persistence. That was very nice of him because a lot of times they don't call and apologize, even if they do call you back.
He needed to sell his building, so he sold his company. I got to get rid of this asset.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
So you were Trammell Crow, and then did you go from there to starting your own company? Do I have that right?
No, Trammell moved me from Dallas to Houston to open the tenant rep division of the Crow office that had been here for 40 years. So I built a tenant rep team from scratch. And that was so much fun. And all these guys are still in the industry and we're still close. They're great people. And we've gone different places since Trammell Crow was bought. And I decided to go to Transwestern. I was there for about 4 years. And I really desired the global platform. Transwestern is a great company, but I liked winning global corporate services business. So I jumped over to Newmark, the New York-based company. I was there for 6 years. And then, candidly, I was missing the Trammell Crow culture. And I felt something just calling me to start my own company, which made no sense. And if I know anything about the voice of God in my life, it's persistent. And it typically doesn't make sense. And over probably a year, I knew what I was being called to do. And so I started my own company. And ironically, I told myself, if you start your own boutique, you are absolutely stepping down from the global platform. Is that what you want to do? What kind of business are you going to target as an individual and as a boutique as you grow your company? And I had resolved at that time that my joy in this business came from making a difference in the lives of the business owners whom I served. I had done a lot of Fortune 100 corporate services work. And while it's very rewarding, it's not as connected to my passion of serving someone in the middle market who has grown a business for the last 20, 30 years. And because you can drive down their occupancy costs, they might be able to lay off less people during a recession, where you can help them come up with ideas where they can overnight become substantially more profitable because they're making better real estate decisions. That's rewarding. And I'd resolved that that was the kind of work I wanted to pursue. So I could do that as an individual and as a small boutique. And ironically, the first piece of business I ran into was representing one of the largest oil and gas companies here in Houston on their headquarters assignment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had been in the industry how long at the point that you started your own firm?
20 years.
Okay, yeah. So 20 years, and then you were kind of going out, starting your own thing. And you did, that was, is it Limestone? Is that right?
Limestone, yes.
Yeah.
So I like the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what made you move from, I guess, did you go from Limestone to J. Beard?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was another faith journey. So Jeff and I were talking about a deal, and we each knew each other in the community, but we didn't know each other. And so during one of those deal-related conversations, he said, let's talk about our businesses. And I said, I would love to do that because it's sort of lonely when you're leading a boutique. I mean, Laura, I'm sure you've had those seasons. So I said, I would absolutely love to. So Jeff and I sat down to lunch, and I share authentically. You can probably tell that already. And Jeff was sharing some of the common struggles as the leader of a commercial real estate company might have. And his business had been in operation for 13 years, maybe 15 years at the time. And I was coming up to 5 years. And we had the same struggles. I didn't say this, but I thought to myself, you've got to be kidding me. I am not going to keep fighting this same battle. You've got to be kidding me. So we started having the conversation about how you leverage up as a boutique. And he shared with me that the SVN opportunity had been knocking at his door for a number of years, and he was giving it serious consideration. So here we go, global platform.
Yeah.
And that's how the conversation started. And I would never have written the story this way, but I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. J. Beard sounds like a great company, and, SVN, we know, is a great fit for a more national platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Good culture.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love that.
So you made the move to J. Beard as they became SVN? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I folded the company into Jeff's.
Okay.
And he took over the franchise.
Okay.
And that was about 3 years ago, right?
It's about 3 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what has been the result in your perspective so far of that choice to kind of merge and do the SVN platform? What things have you and Jeff noticed in your business as a result of making those decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of things come to mind. Change is hard. Change exhilarates me, but I believe I'm part of the 1% who enjoys that challenge. So I've learned to be sensitive to the other folks that are involved in that change. So even Limestone, me telling my Limestone crew of 7, we are merging in with J. Beard. I was probably the only person excited about it. And at the time, and then Jeff telling his much larger team, Limestone's going to be folding in. He was probably the only person excited about it. And then on top of that, And we're going to become SVN J Beard. And then you could tell that there was a real uphill battle to help people see the vision. Just like day one in real estate, helping people walk into an environment that's unknown, foreign, that just doesn't quite feel right, but helping them see that it's a good idea. That was a journey. And so I'm grateful that our teams came along for the journey. I can tell you that it was fun to see our folks at the first brokerage conference. They came in skeptical and they left excited. So it was really great to see that transition. You could see their eyes open, their minds open to the possibilities of how their personal day-to-day business could get better, of the partnerships they could create across markets, of the volume of best practices, tools, research could be expanded to help them serve their clients better. So I would say it's been nothing but positive. It has been a journey to positive, and it is very positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was, I would say, my experience too. Like when I was considering SVN, the conference is hands down what sold it to me. When I came back, one of the guys at my office was like, "You drank the Kool-Aid." I'm like, "I guess I did." So that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. Time goes quick.
Or do you know the first conference that Jeff and I went to without others joining? I had told myself how excited I was when I started Limestone that I would never have to go to another global or national brokerage conference. I'd been to over 20. And while I have so many wonderful colleagues in this field across the nation, they can be exhausting. These conferences can be a little nauseating if you want to be honest about it, just with the egos in the room. And I had prepared myself. I thought, oh, here we go. We're going to do a brokerage conference. So I came in with that very low bar of expectation and left with complete delight. And because the difference was you were filled with a room of owners.
Yeah. It's very collaborative. A lot of friends.
That. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The humility. Running a business is hard work. And yeah, there's no room for ego.
Yeah. That's great.
So in 3 years that you've been there, we went back and looked. I didn't see your name on the 2023 list of the top 100, but in 2024, you were number 3 in the whole company. So tell us about that.
Amazing.
What kind of growth, what personal things, what happened? How do you attribute that growth in 2024?
Yeah, I would say that anytime you change platforms, it takes about 2 years to move from your prior peak to your new peak. So that's a trend that I've seen through the years. I would also say that in 2023, I felt like it was a season of washing out. And let me explain that. I had a dream and it was so vivid. And it was like all these floodwaters came into my house and like tried to wash everything out. And I woke up and I thought, well, that's terrible. And then, so a number of things happened. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the same week that I was diagnosed, I was working on 3 large transactions that would have individually each made a successful year. And so when I was working on those 3 transactions, I got on the call with the CEO of one of the companies and he said, my wife has just been diagnosed with breast cancer. I was like, wow, me too. So that was not related to his deal that I was working on changing course, but it did. In the same hour, I get on a call with my other client and I'm trying to let him know that I'm going to be out for a short season. I got a diagnosis and so forth. And he goes, my wife is just diagnosed with breast cancer as well. And he said, I need to put this project on hold. He was carrying the project by himself. We had a letter of intent. I mean, we were just going to go to documents and get this thing done. And he goes, I'm really sorry, but we have small children. My life has just changed. I can't continue with this deal. I said, I understand. Then the third deal I was working on, unrelated to a breast cancer diagnosis, but interesting that we had worked on it for 3 years. It went on hold. And they said, we can't explain why, but it's on hold. So here I am in this unique situation, having just had this dream of waters coming in and washing things out. And I thought, I'm not going to get into agreement with this. We're going to take one day at a time, and we're going to get the right the right treatment for this diagnosis. We're going to reach out to these clients' wives and walk this journey with them. We're just going to do one day at a time. And then, so I went through my surgery. I was recovering, and my phone starts blowing up. My emails are being just flooded with all these aggressive phone calls and emails about some event that I have no idea what they're talking about. All of a sudden, Jeff's emails and our company website is crashing. We're wondering what is happening. And apparently there was a social media event that someone wrongfully tied to Limestone. And there was still a Facebook Limestone page that had not been shut down. Candidly, I didn't know how to shut it down. I didn't know it was still open. And this cyber attack came through and put our company on hold. It was so costly. So here I am going, what, God, what is happening? And Jeff was fighting that fight of, all these terrible Google reviews. And we don't even know what to do. It was terrible. And all I could do from the couch was find my PR contact and just text him, help us. We don't know what's happening. So it was a very dark season. And I will just tell you that we made our way through that. Thankfully, I recovered and I'm cancer free. Thankfully, we still had good business that transacted. So going into 24 was kind of like a rebirth of, okay, here's what we have. Let's go make it happen. And one of those big deals came back. So I was really grateful for that. So I know that large deal contributed to.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but I'm just grateful for having gone through that season and having, not just survived it, but learned a lot through it as well.
How did you get through that dark time? I mean, that's just sounds overwhelming to me.
Yeah, it was. I think I know that I have a relationship with God, and I've had it since I was 7 years old. And I'm really grateful for it because I don't know how people get through dark seasons without coming out on the other side. If you come through it, you're not bitter and you go straight to what did we learn? Let's grow from here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was a lot. A lot for anybody.
Yeah. It is a lot.
Mm.
And so to get the ranking, really, it overwhelmed me because it had been such a trying season. So I was especially grateful. And, part of the change that occurred in me as a result of all this was trying to, move my business from my head to my heart and not just think with my mind, how can I best serve my clients, but how can I really love them? And seeing the difference that makes. I let go of the competition for the first time in my 30-year career. And that's when the ranking occurred. So just that right there is an invitation for people to consider letting go of everything you've ever learned.
Wow.
And,
it's a good lesson.
make room for God to move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your speech at the conference was very moving. It was really very heartfelt. So I'm proud of you. And then after the conference, they named you managing director, right, of the Houston office?
Yes.
Awesome. Well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That means a lot to me because that means that my partner trusts me.
Even after that cyber attack.
I know.
Oh, he's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a new season, Brandi, that's been opened up for you, that the groundwork has been laid. You're managing director, finished third in the company. What is your vision for seeing SVN Beard's presence in the Houston market grow? What does it look like? Or what does it look like to help your team and your agent see the vision for loving their clients and catching that part of it? What are you hoping to see happen inside of your company in this new season?
Yeah, I would say we're looking for great people. We are looking for great people. And if I had been asked this question 10 years ago, it would have been answered with a 10-point plan, a 5-year plan broken down by quarter, who's going to move those rocks ahead, a whole EOS process, which I love a good process. But now it looks like, let's look for really great people. Let's grow with great people. Let's not just invite people in who are trying to escape another platform or just ready for a change. Let's find out why. Let's find out why they do what they do. And let's empower them to better serve their clients. If we're that right fit, let's bring them on. If we're not, let's encourage them elsewhere. But it's really about the people. It's no longer about the numbers. And if we just continue to keep that focus and that filter, it's all going to work out.
It's fascinating to me that you have that background of the EOS system. And I'm sure that to some extent the knowledge of that is going to impact how you set up your company and how you do that. So how do you take this new vision and great people and why they do what they do, and carry that balanced with that EOS, systems of accountability and having goals and casting vision that the whole team's on board with? What does that look like for you as you live and walk that out as a leader?
Yeah, it's having been through some things, I'm more sensitive to what's going on in other people's lives. And I think that continuing to have the courage to grow, continuing to have the tenacity to do the hard work to complete the growth, those are important things. It's also equally important that instead of just tasking people around you with things that they can do, it's making sure that they have the passion for it and the capacity in the season of life that they're in.
That's good. That harmonious kind of mixing what are the rocks that they're responsible for or involved in, but then how does that fit with their season of life and their passions and skills? Yeah.
Right. And giving them the freedom to choose, is this something that you really want to carry forward?
Right.
And if it's not, is there a place for you that best supports where you are emotionally, mentally, physically right now?
Yeah. Love it.
I wish I had that sensitivity 20 years ago.
Get better with age.
So as you reflect on your career thus far, what would you say are the accomplishments that you're most proud of? And what is driving your continued passion? I think maybe you've kind of touched on parts of this, but maybe just directly answering, What are you proud of? And what's giving you passion and driving you forward in this industry?
You know what I'm most proud of, and I think this might tie into encouragement for others, is knowing who I am and knowing what my gifts are and how they fit into this industry to best serve my clients. Because when you first come in, and even for years thereafter, you're trying to figure it out and you're following the leaders around you, but you are not them and they are not you. So you have to know what your gifts are, hone those gifts and skills to best serve your clients. And then once you do that and you get some momentum, being careful to remember that we serve clients. They don't serve us. They don't exist to make us money. They don't exist to give us titles and rankings and trips. We are there to serve them. So I think what I'm most proud of is the transition that I've experienced in these last couple of years, and knowing myself well enough to not fear being recklessly authentic, like getting up and sharing with people what I had gone through leading up to 2024 and why that ranking was so special to me. I was not trained to give talks like that by former leaders, because it's about my talk was from a place of vulnerability. And until Brene Brown came along, no one knew how to spell that word. So I think that was probably a really great moment to not only have the opportunity, but to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So outside of your work, what other activities and interests help you maintain balance and bring fresh perspective and give you life? Helps you just keep it all going, keep it all together.
I do. I do two things. I started Bible studies in the workplace when I was with Trammell Grow Company, and have continued, and they've grown. And so the people in my life that are involved in those who have started their own, and we just do a lot of life together. They're very honest with me, and they'll tell me when I'm getting when I'm overworking. They'll keep me in check. I've got a lot of accountability partners and just people who will boldly speak truth into my life, and I'm really grateful for that. So that's my core. And so this is fun. When I was recovering, and asking myself, what does the next season of my life look like? I also asked a very deep question, which was, if I hadn't made it through this, what would I regret most having not done? I haven't shared this with many people, but the answer to it was painting. I always had a knack, and my kids are extraordinary and gifted artists. And I thought I wanted to go into commercial art. And then when I was in my art classes in college, I didn't really connect with the people in the art classes. And I thought, am I going to make any money? I didn't come from money. And this is all getting a little weird. I love the projects, but this is a very weird environment. And so I went into business. I'm like, I'm good at math. Let's do it. Glad I did. But a return to that has been a great joy. And what I've found from it, so I'm taking these very difficult painting classes, very challenging. And when I'm painting, I cannot think about anything else. So it is the best way for my mind to relax, focus on something completely different. And when I come back to my work, I'm refreshed and I'm more creative.
I love that. Everybody needs a creative outlet.
That's the Johnson O'Connor way. It's a test I recommend to a lot of people for their kids, where it looks at what are you talented at that you can make money at, and what is like a passion, but it's not a moneymaker. So you're doing both. You're doing, a career, but you've also found your outlet for what you love, but you picked the one. They recommend you pick the one that can make you money, and the other one you just do as a side hobby. Yeah. So it sounds like you've got that all figured out. That's great.
Finally. After 30 years.
Yeah. I want to see some of these paintings. You should post them.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I think you should.
We'll see.
Next year's conference. Next year's conference, when you're on stage, you can pull it out and show it.
How to not get invited back.
I'm sure that's not true. So over your years, you've experienced so much, and thank you so much for sharing all these stories. I think Brandi, you have been very thoughtful in your responses and shared so deeply and vulnerably in a way that not everybody chooses to, or maybe even can. So thank you for allowing us into your story and to your heart. From those experiences, what advice would you offer to younger people, especially women who are getting involved in commercial real estate or leadership roles in business? What are some insights that you would share from your journey? What advice would you give?
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of things. I've already said, really know who you are, know your own giftings, and tie them to serving your clients. So key. That is so key. Don't try to be like the leaders around you. Take from them all the skills that you need to hone, but apply your own personality, your own style, your own giftings. Don't try to be someone else. The second thing is if I had it to do all over again, I probably would have gone into capital markets day one, because I think that's the impetus of why do people buy buildings? How do they make money? It's the catalyst of our whole industry. And so I would, if I had it to do over, I would start there. So if you have the, if you've got the mathematical acumen to go into capital markets, do it early. Do it for free. Get your education on the job and learn from the people around you. You'll pick up so much. The reason I say that is starting in leasing, going into tenant rep, corporate services, and just now I'm learning from Jeff what he's been doing all these years. It's very intriguing to me. So I like that we're always learning. If you are always learning, it's going to be life-giving to you and to everyone around you, and it will not feel like a job, and this career will be joy for you.
Mm-hmm. So we have one more question for you, Brandi. This is our closer question. We ask everybody the same one. If you could go back and start your career over again, but keep all these knowledge and experiences that you've gained along the way, what is something that you would do differently, and why?
I would invest in my own real estate early.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I'm not going to overtalk that one. Buy real estate day one.
That's a good one.
As soon as you can. Yeah. That is a really good one, and hard to accomplish, I think, when you're just getting started. Take some focus.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brandi.
Thank you so much, Brandi. Thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah.
The Laura and Lacey show has been so much fun. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
That was Brandi Sikes sharing her insights on leadership and commercial real estate in Houston. For more information on Brandi, SVN J Beard Houston, or to learn more about SVN Lattice, click the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Deal.